Well, good evening. Good evening, everybody. My name's David Thomson. I'm a senior school deputy principal at Chancellor, and I'm looking after Year 10 this year. And I'm here this evening to take you through the presentation, the Year 9 into 10 senior secondary pathway selection. Thank you to everyone that's made the effort to join this session tonight. So we've got 50 people logged on at the moment, and that's great given our complex ways in which we have to engage our families at the moment due to the COVID protocols and restrictions. The good advantage, or one of the advantages of this format, is that we are recording the session this evening. So the session will be made available on the school Facebook page and the school website. So if you have to dip out at any stage, if you would like to re-watch some of this presentation, it will be available tomorrow once we finish the session and get it loaded up onto the website. So once again, thank you for taking the time. The presentation this evening will go for about 35 minutes, and there will be provision for you to ask questions throughout. Bear in mind, I'm here by myself at the moment, so I will keep an eye on the chat window. But I will try to get to your questions as they're posed and actually have an opportunity to have questions and answers towards the end. So before we get started this evening, I'd just like to once again say welcome, and I'm so privileged to help your child transition from the junior secondary part of their education into their senior secondary part of their education. So that's an exciting journey to be on. Just a couple of protocols for this evening, how to interact this evening. If you are logged on with your computer, you'll have some icons on your screen that you can interact. The first of all is the microphone, and I would ask that we have parents, if you could have your microphone on mute, so that we don't talk over one another. But there is the capacity to raise your hand. And I will try to answer you if you've raised your hand. But I would direct you towards there's a little pink button in the bottom right-hand corner, which looks like this. That pink button will open up a chat window. And so if you are on your computer now, and if you open up that chat window, can you just open up that now and give us a thumbs up if you can hear okay, or just type hello or whatnot into that chat window. And that's a way that throughout the evening, if you do have a question, that'll keep a log of the questions that you've got. Jules, number 2, I've noticed that you've raised your hand. If you've got a question that you would like to ask, just go to the chat window and type it in there, and I'll try to respond to you throughout the presentation. Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction. Chancellor State College is a very large state college. It's the 3rd largest school in Queensland, and so with that comes a depth of leadership. Our executive principal is Ms. Leanne Jensen-Steele. Victoria Anstey is our campus principal, and we also have an array of deputy principals. So Philippa and I are in the senior secondary team at 10, 11 and 12. Ron Harrison is the current Year 9 deputy, Diane Beatson on Year 8 and Darren Gibson on Year 7. We have 2 guidance officers, Tamsin Burness and Dominic Towler, and they're absolutely fantastic resources. If you are wanting further guidance on career counselling, they're great people to speak to. As well as a whole host of heads of department that help support our senior studies. So you can see a list of staff members there. And in senior school, we have 3 year level coordinators, and we have 1 for each year level. So currently, Nick Collingwood's our Year 10 year level coordinator. They generally travel up with the years as they move through 10, 11, 12. So the Year 10 year level coordinator will be determined early next year. The senior school at Chancellor, the underpinning philosophy of the senior school at Chancellor is that really it's about providing multiple pathways for diverse learning experiences to engage senior students. Now, it's an easy thing to say, but this evening we'll showcase how we put together multiple and diverse paths that really start with some decision making that occurs in Year 9. I'll start with some real basics. The Education Legislation Amendment Act 2006, this spelled out a number of phases of schooling. And so as a parent, this is important to understand as they transition through these phases. The students are currently in the compulsory phase of schooling, which means that they need to be, it's compulsory to be at school. But as soon as they hit either 16 or the end of Year 10, whichever comes first, the student exits the compulsory phase and moves into another phase called the compulsory participation phase. Now, the compulsory participation phase is commonly or often referred to as the non-compulsory phase of schooling. But it's not quite, describing it that way is not quite correct. The compulsory participation phase means school is one of 4 options that students must be in. So school is one option post 16 or the end of grade 10. But there are a round of other options. There are another 3 options. One is the student can leave school, and as long as they're employed greater than 25 hours a week in work, means that they can leave school to work. It's the learning or earning concept. There are another 2 avenues other than what I've described already. One is this: a student can leave and go into an apprenticeship or a traineeship. And the 4th is that they can go to training or learning at another institution, like a Tafe, for example. So as long as the student from the age of 16 or the end of Year 10 until they turn 17 are involved in one of those 4 things, that's the compulsory participation phase. And then that phase ends when they turn 17, and then there are other exit options available to them. So that, I guess, frames where Year 10 fits, because many of the students in grade 10 turn 16 and their options open up during their Year 10 year. Our goal for students in senior school, our goal really is that 100%, every single student that goes through Year 10, 11, 12 will exit Year 12. So your children exiting in 2023 will exit with a QCE, with a Queensland Certificate of Education, every single student. But there will also be some other options that some students will attain. Additional to the QCE, students may obtain an ATAR, an Australian Tertiary Entrance Rank, that will allow them to apply for tertiary studies at university. If the student is not going to be receiving an ATAR, we would like the students to finish with a VET qualification Cert 3 or above. Now, the reason we want these outcomes, the QCE and an ATAR, or with the VET Cert 3, is that the statistics from the Australian Bureau of Statistics tell us that the earning capacity of students, of people post-school, are the highest if they have got an additional education outside their completion of Year 12. So, for example, a student with a bachelor degree averages around about a wage of $1,200 per week. A person that has got a Certificate 3 averages around just a bit under that, around about that $1,100 or $1,050 to $1,100 per week. And where a school leaver with just Year 12 averages $800 per week. So those statistics really drive what we want for our students as they exit with the grade 12 certificate, the QCE, but also other pathways to go forward, either the ATAR or the Cert 3. We have 3 questions and a wish for our students in senior. The first question that we like to pose to them is, we don't say to a Year 9 student or a Year 10 student, well, what are you going to be necessarily? Sometimes we ask that, but a better question to ask them is what do they like at school? What are the subjects that get them out of bed? What are the subjects that they are passionate about? And often we find that because students like a particular subject, be it music or sport or economics or mathematics, if they really like the subject, they tend to engage and they tend to do well. So in choosing subjects, that's a really key question to ask the students. What are they good at? So that often these two questions are tied together. But if they are excelling in a particular subject and they think they have to choose another subject because they believe that's important, but they aren't doing so well in that, well, that might not be a great choice. So if we tie those two questions together, what do they like and what are they good at, can give a good guide for questions for students to choose subjects. There is the underpinning as well that some subjects need to be done because some subjects will give students options moving forward. So, for example, studies in particular mathematics will open doors to engineering, will open doors to medicine, and so forth. Studies in general English will open doors into law and other humanities-based subjects. Studies, a certificate in manufacturing technology will give base skills for woodwork and skills for trades. So what are the studies that are going to give them options after they leave school is an important question. And our wish for students is that they are enabled to make a difference to their own life through getting a job and having a purpose and so forth, making a difference to their families and making a difference to their community. And if we allow them to have answered these three questions, it will set them up to make a difference in their life. How we get a gauge of this in Year 10, during the My Journey program and throughout Year 9 as well, we do a whole range of activities where the students get to know what they like. And we do a career voyage program in Year 10. It's a survey that the students answer an array of questions. It gives them an idea or some suggestions for different careers that they might like to pursue. It does help answer the questions about what they like, not just at school, but broader than that as well. It might give them some idea about the career opportunities in the fields that they like. What are they good at? We do use the academic progress of students in Year 9 to help make choices for subjects in Year 10. And those choices then unlock other choices in Year 11 and 12. And I impressed this point on the students today because I did the same presentation to the students, that it's really important that they strive to get the best possible results, because the measure of how they're going at school is their performance in their report cards. What's going to give them options? And I will unpack some fantastic options that are available to the students that will allow them to go in multiple diverse pathways that I was talking about that are available in the senior school. I will just drill into a couple of key things that might be new to some of you, and I'll start with the Queensland Certificate of Education, the QCE. So this replaced the senior certificate a number of years ago, and it replaced the senior certificate because it had a quality. The QCE has a quality element where a student has to earn the QCE rather than just finish Year 12 and receive the certificate. So it's a senior secondary schooling qualification and it's internationally recognised. Now the students can get the QCE for a wide range of learning options, and I'll talk about how students can get the QCE, and it starts in Year 10 at Chancellor. The students to get a QCE need to undergo or have these four things. They need to accumulate a set amount of learning, and that's measured in the QCE by learning credits. 20 learning credits will trigger the QCE to be issued to the student. Now, a learning credit, for example, is gained by a student completing a school-based subject, a certificate, 1, 2, or 3, or 4, university subjects. A school-based subject is generally worth 1 point per unit of study in the grade 11 and 12 subjects. So 20 points or 20 credits need to be collected. They need to be collected in a set pattern. The set pattern is that there needs to be 12 of that 20 that is completed from studies that are done at school from beginning to end. That is a completed subject. So there's, for example, English grade 11 and 12, and Maths grade 11 and 12, and one other subject as a minimum. So 12 points need to come from school. There are points that can come from outside school, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. It needs to be a set standard. The students will not receive points for their learning in grade 11 and 12 if they pass the subject. So they need to get a C or better, a satisfactory completion, in order to get awarded the learning credits for their learning on their journey to the QCE. And students need to have a minimum standard of literacy and numeracy in order to get the QCE as well. So I'll just unpack that just a little bit further. So for example, in the set pattern, and I don't want to bamboozle you with too much detail, but I do want to say to you that the form that went home tonight with your student that got issued in the form class today, the actual subject selection form, and there's also the senior secondary pathway selection guide, has got this information in it as a handout for you as well, so that you can go and digest it a little bit further. And I've also emailed all the parents this same document as well. These documents are also available on the school website. But let's drill into the points. A general subject, grade 11 or 12, or an general or applied subject, they're worth 1 point per unit, up to 4 points. And if a student does 6 school-based subjects, 6 times 4 is 24. They've got their above their 20 points, they get their QCE. But there are certificate courses that can contribute as well. A certificate 2 can be worth up to 4 QCE points. A certificate 3 or 4 can be worth up to 8 QCE points. A school-based apprenticeship can be worth up to 6. So there's different inputs that can come in QCE. There are studies that are considered preparatory, I would say, that can be done in year 10 that can contribute to the QCE. For example, Cert 1 qualifications, which would be considered simpler learning than grade 11 or 12. Then there's complementary points. That is a diploma, which is considered above year 12 levels of study, or university subjects done at school can contribute QCE. We put that together in a package, and if the student has met the core component and it adds up to 20, then the student does get the QCE. Now, interestingly, Year 10 at Chancellor has introduced a Cert 2 in work and vocational skills in the My Journey program at Chancellor. That the Cert 2 is worth 4 QCE points, and the Cert 2 also meets the literacy and numeracy component of the QCE. So the students, all of the grade 10 students on successful completion of that Cert 2 next year in grade 10 will only need to receive 16 QCE from the year 11 and 12. On top of that, we've got a Cert 2 in business in grade 10 as an elective, and a Cert 1 in hospitality. So feasibly, some students who choose the Cert 1 in hospitality, the Cert 2 in business, and do the Cert 2 in work and vocational skills will finish year 10 next year with 10 of the 20 QCE points needed to get their year 12 certificate. And that is an extraordinary start for those students. I'll move on to the next page. So the QCE is the grade 12 certificate. Then there are 2 other outcomes that the student could get, and that is, one of them is an ATAR. For many years, Queensland had a separate tertiary entrance system called the OP system, and some of your parents out there have got older children that may have received an OP, an overall position, and that was the best score was 1 and the worst score was a 25, and that was the score that was used to get into the universities in Queensland. Every other state in Queensland used an ATAR, an Australian Tertiary Entrance Rank. And all it is a ranking system. The very top 30 kids in Queensland at the end of this year in grade 12, the top 30 kids out of all schools will get a 99.95. The next 30 will get a 99.90, and the next 30 down a 99.85, and so it goes down to zero, basically. So it's a 2,000 point scale, and that's calculated by the year 12 results only that contribute to the ATAR. The higher the ATAR, the more options that students will have in the entrance to university. There are no courses in year 10 at Chancellor that contribute to an ATAR. In grade 11, those subjects do not contribute to an ATAR. The grade 12, unit 3 and 4 are the subjects that contribute to an ATAR. However, a certificate 3 can contribute to an ATAR, and I'll unpack that again. So the eligibility for an ATAR, and we're talking more year 11 and 12 here, is there are five inputs to an ATAR. Now that could be 5 general subjects, which are the academic subjects in year 11 and 12, or it could be 4 general subjects and 1 applied subject, which is a skill-based subject, a skill-based subject, or a Cert 3 or higher can contribute to an ATAR. Just a word of note that English is a compulsory subject, as is maths, at Chancellor all the way through to year 12. But additional to that is English is a compulsory subject for the calculation of ATAR, and a student must receive a C grade or higher for an ATAR to be issued to that student. But there are an array of English subjects where the student could choose from, and that's on the screen at the moment. This is more relevant to year 11 and 12, but I'm just giving you the information so you know where it's all headed. How will VET be included in ATAR? A Certificate 3 is considered a Year 12 level of learning. So it's unfair for students who are doing a Cert 3 at that level for it not to contribute to an ATAR. So the QTAC, Queensland Tertiary Admission Centre, has developed an input where the Certificate 3 can contribute to an ATAR. A Certificate 3 will get converted to a score out of 100. We don't know what that is exactly yet, but there are some speculation it's in around the 65 out of 100 for a Cert 3. And then that gets added to the 4 other scores that add up and then calculate to an ATAR. A Certificate 4 will input at a higher mark out of 100, and a diploma is even higher again. Some would suggest somewhere in the 80s we're believing it might contribute to a diploma. So that's how VET can contribute to an ATAR, and some of the students in year 10 will start their Cert 3 next year. So let's talk about the subject selection for year 10 and the process associated with that. So I'll step through this with you now. But let's talk about the pathways that exist at Chancellor. So as I began, the senior schooling is all about diverse and multiple pathways. And it's very clear at the top of this diagram here that we want to really paint that employment or tertiary study can be accessed from no matter which pathway or subject choices that students can choose throughout the year 11 and year 11 and 12 years. But the basis of senior is this section here, the year 10 options. Now, the core options for year 10 are that students have to choose. There are compulsory subjects of English, mathematics, humanities, and science. And the selection process at the moment is they will choose those. We will put in place subjects for English and maths, where there is, for example, in mathematics, an English extension, a mathematics extension for students that are achieving a B or higher in year 9 mathematics and who would like to be prepared for the senior year 11 and 12 mathematics courses of specialist maths or math methods. And then that might be a selection that is made now in grade 10. English offers English and English literature. So English starts as a part. English will look at a broad range of texts, including blogs and feature articles and some literary texts like Shakespeare and written works. But English literature, which is the same level of difficulty as English, but it has a sole focus on the literature component of English and doesn't look at feature articles and blogs and so forth. So it's just a different emphasis. Those options are available in year 10. In humanities and science, at the moment, the students will choose humanities and science, and later in term 4, students will have the opportunity to specialise in those, and they'll get I guess a flavour to each of those. So science in term 4, we'll survey the students, and they'll be able to choose between different sciences in year 10 to experience biology and marine science and chemistry and physics. So that's the availability for 10 science. And humanities, likewise, they'll all do a history unit, but they'll get to choose elements like economics or legal studies or geography, and to get a feel for what those senior subjects might be like. The students also have 2 elective subjects. And in year 10, the initial thinking is they choose the subject for 12 months. However, the school is not closed to the idea that after 6 months, after the first semester, the student is wanting to change. We consider the change possibility mid-year, so they can broaden their selection of their elective options if need be. That's the foundation of our senior in year 10, and then all of the options open up in 11 and 12, and then on to tertiary study and then employment via different pathways in senior. I'm just showing you this quick slide just to let you know that on the school website and on the email I've sent the parents yesterday is a link to the senior schooling section of the school website. There's a video made for every year 11 and 12 subject, as well as videos made for every faculty, summarising of the subjects that are in those faculties that you can watch to get a sense of where the students are headed. As well as there's a document on the website which does do a description of each of the year 10 subjects, so that you can get a bit more information about the subjects, all on the school website. I have spoken about this multiple and diverse pathways, and these options start to open up to year 10 students, as students can achieve a Certificate 3 via the Future Skills pathway rather than the traditional ATAR pathway. Approximately 60% of our school leavers from Chancellor are in the Future Skills pathway. So it's the dominant pathway at Chancellor. About 40% of students receive an ATAR and then go on to study. The Future Skills pathway, students can study certificate courses in the VET or certificate courses that the college offers, the Chancellor certificate courses. But also students can do Tafe courses and spend 1 day a week at the local Tafe, Mooloolaba or Nambour, and they can find a certificate course that might interest them, and they might go off and do that. They can do VET at another school. So, for example, Kawana Water State College offers a Cert 2 and a Cert 3 in allied healthcare. So, Caloundra State High School offers a Cert 3 in drone avionics and as a drone pilot to become a commercial line of sight drone pilot. They can spend a day a week at those other schools and study those courses. Unity College offers a Cert 4 in Crime and Justice Studies, which is done online, but which can be done here at Chancellor. And then there's the students that will start their school-based apprenticeship or their school-based traineeship, where they'll be completing a Cert 3. The difference between a school-based apprenticeship is that the students begin their apprenticeship in their chosen field, be it hairdressing or plumbing or electrician or any array of apprenticeship. And by the end of their year 12 year, that having done 1 day a week at their on their apprenticeship, they have finished their first year of their apprenticeship, and they step out of year 12 directly into employment as a second year apprentice full time. They get paid while they're on that day. They get paid first year apprentice wages. They start their certificate 3, they get 6 QCE points, and they walk straight into a job. Absolute outstanding opportunity, and that can start in year 10. And then there's school-based traineeships where the students will do a Cert 3. Normally takes about 12 to 18 months in different areas. They will get a Cert, generally it's a Cert 3, can be a Cert 2, but a Cert 3 is worth 8 QCE points. The students will get paid while they're at the workplace, which is normally 1 day a week, generally a Wednesday, and so they get paid for being at the traineeship. They get the Cert 3, 8 QCE points, which contributes to ATAR. It's an absolutely outstanding opportunity. These opportunities start to open up in year 10, and there'll be information that comes home from Kathy Bennett, our traineeship and apprenticeship coordinator, that will start to connect you with these opportunities. Additional to all of that, we've got 40 grade 10 students on a Tafe in Schools Tafe taster program at the moment. So those 40 students are going to the Mooloolaba or Nambour Tafe 1 day a week, and they are trying a whole array of certificates, little taster programs, at all of the certificate courses that are available at those 2 TAFEs. So in year 10, this option becomes a live option where they can spend that, normally a Wednesday, out those TAFE and just get a feel for what is hairdressing, or what is construction, or what is electro technology, and so forth, and they get a taster of what they might want to move on to in their 11 and 12 years. It's a bit hard to see this slide, but it does give you an idea of all the different certificates that are available at the local TAFE that they can have a bit of a go at in that TAFE taster program in year 10. On to subject selection. So I'm just going to pause for just one moment. I've done a lot of talking. Are there any, in the chat window, are there any questions that anyone would like to pose before I just move on to this last section? No? Okay. Well, if you do think of a question, just feel free to type it away there. So let's just talk about how the students will make the subject selection from 9 into 10, and I'll step through with that now. First of all, step 1, on the very front page of the blue document that went home with the students today, step 1 is the students need to obviously write their name, and they need to get a USI number, a unique student identifier. The USI number is imperative to get because this is where the certificates are banked nationally. Every person that completes a certificate course nationally needs to have a USI number. It's really easy to get. It takes about 3 minutes to do it. There's a link that's on the blue form that you go to, or just type in USI into the search engine. You need a Medicare card or some kind of identification, and you develop that unique student identifier for the student. Because every year 10 student is starting with a Cert 2 in work and vocational skills in my journey, we'll need that USI number. So that's step 1, name and the USI number. Step 2 is that the students will choose the subjects both on the blue subject selection form, and they'll need to choose the subjects online on One School. So the students have been spoken about this today, but there's also a video on the school website on how, a tutorial if you like, on how students log into One School and how they choose the subjects online, and this form here just needs to match. There's just a few instructions. First instruction is that students need to choose from the 6 lines on this document, and on the online version there's a 7th line, which is my journey. They need to have chosen Maths, Science, English and Humanities, and they need to choose electives. Now, my advice to the students is choose the electives first, then go to Science and Humanities on the other elective lines, and then finish with the levels of Maths that the students are looking to choose. So the students will fill out the, so they can use on page 2 of the the subject selection form is where the subjects and where they're offered on what line. I'll explain what lines are shortly. So I'll choose basically one subject per line, and that the subjects will occur early next year in 2021, so that you will have put no money up front when you hand in this form. It's just we will do the invoicing once the subjects have settled. So this is just to give you an indication of what the cost will be associated with the course that the students have selected. There is a step 3 where the student, and we get the parent to co-sign this, because VET or certificate courses are different from regular schooling that the kids might be used to, where they get an A, a B, a C, D, or an E. And if they've got a C, they've passed the course. Having said that, a VET or a certificate is 100% competence or 100% completion. So, so the student needs to understand that they will not get the certificate unless the certificate is 100% competent. And so the signature there just is acknowledging that, and the parent just to co-sign that. Then step 4 is really very much in the parent realm. It's the financial commitment and the commitment to the school SRS, the $286, which covers the textbook hire fees. It covers the diary, the student card, the printing allowance, and so forth. So that's the financial commitment on the page 3 of the subject selection form, which looks like this. Step 5 is to return the forms. The forms will be open to be received by the office week 1 of term 4 from the 6th of October, Tuesday, because Monday is a public holiday. So the students need to return the online subject selection printout, which is a PDF that's created by their online selections. And then they'll also need to return the blue SRS form together. That needs to be all signed. The USI and the name need to be on the front, and the subject selections need to match both online and in the blue form. And that's what's due in the first week of term 4. Now, I spoke of lines before, and I just wanted to show you how we convert line selection into a timetable. So if you just have a look at this image on the, this is how we construct the day or the timetable at Chancellor. So that in senior school, the day runs exactly the same as junior. We go from 8:30 to 2:30, lunch breaks and so forth. And we take the line offerings and we spread them throughout the week. So if you look at the red boxes here, that is all of the subjects in year 10, 11 and 12 which are offered on line 1. So that is then taught third period on Monday, second period on Tuesday, and third period on Thursday. And likewise, line 6 is second Monday, first Tuesday, and fourth on Thursday. So how we convert, and I'll go back a couple of slides, how we convert a subject offered on a line. The students will choose on a line, and then we convert that to the timetable by what we call a line structure, which helps develop the timetable. And the reason I relay this to you, so you get an understanding of why we're choosing in lines, is because the lines get converted to the timetable for next year. We've been through a lot of information this evening. You can rewatch this recorded video. You can look at all of the information that's available on the school website. You can make an appointment with the school guidance officers or the deputy principals, myself, for example, if you'd like to know more information. A key place to start would be the school, the student's form teacher. We'll have a lot of information about the subjects and the process. But it's there's a lot of help there for students to make their choice, and those exciting choices moving into the senior school. That's the end of the presentation this evening. Is there any questions that anyone would like to pose in the chat window this evening? Everyone's shy. Eleanor, you've raised your hand. If you go to the chat window, you type a question into the chat window. There's a little pink button on the bottom right-hand side. I'm not seem to be getting any questions typed into the chat window. So I'd like to say thank you for attending this evening, and we will make this available. If you do have any questions, my email address is dthom145@eq.edu.au. My email is also on the school website. Got a lot of people putting their hand up. Thank you, but I can't hear you, unfortunately. I'm going to sign off now. There's no further questions in the chat box. So thank you everyone for being here this evening. Oh, I've just got a message, Cara, that the chat window is turned off. I'm sorry about that, everyone. If you do have any questions, please put it in an email, dthom145@eq.edu.au.